All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our XGS masterclass. Today we've got a number of speakers, and we're going to take a different format to what we've done previously. So previously we've had someone chat to a lot of slides, and we thought we'd do something a little different. So what we've got is we've got a couple of guests from Sophos. So we have James Forsyth here from Sophos, from the sales team. Say hi, James.
Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. Lovely to be here. Thank you, Matt.
We've also got Geoff Morrison as well from the sales engineer team at Sophos. Say hi, Geoff.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining and choosing to watch us over a press conference about COVID. I appreciate it.
Yes, that's right. We've got some strong competition for this time slot. So what we've got today is just a masterclass on the XGS. So we're going to I'm going to ask some of these guys here some questions, and we're going to dive into some of the things they're seeing out there, and hopefully get you some answers on how to position security, how to position a firewall in the security landscape, and of course anything that you want as well. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the question box, and also we'll read them. Probably read them out at the end, and more than happy to help answer any questions you have around the XGS firewall. You'll also see in the handout section, we've got some information about some of the current Sophos promotions, and some info there as well. So just make your way over there to pull those out. So without further ado, let's kick off the interview here. All right. I think Geoff, you've got the. There we go. Thanks, Geoff. So, guys, given the current climate, and where we find ourselves, and where we find ourselves right, at this point today, we're still a year and a half into this pandemic. What have you seen that sort of helped the IT managers, IT executives, MSPs help get sort of budgets and kind of approved with, and particularly security prioritized in those budgets?
Thank you, Matt. It's an awesome slide one as well. I hadn't seen that, so that's very pleasing. I like that. Thank you very much. Yeah, the current economic climate, here we are a year and a half later, New South Wales. We weren't here not long ago, but yet we find ourselves back here. And I feel the number one thing that has helped IT managers and executives get approval and security prioritization is communication. The IT departments often are communicating amongst themselves and have a fair idea of what's going on, but they really need to be articulating that to the people that sign off on whatever they might be looking to do. When I first started here, and I'll give away my age by saying 15 to 20 years ago, you would ring someone up, you would talk to them about a product or service, and you would sell that person a product or service. These days, there are 5 or 6 people in a line or in a chain that are required to take part in any type of purchase, and making sure that those groups are communicating is absolutely key. Our job as partners of these people is to make sure that they're doing that and they're articulating exactly what they want. Some of those things they might need in this particular time are secure VPNs as we move more and more so to working remotely. The firewall moving from a physical box to cloud-based software is something else that would need to be, explained in full detail. And sometimes I feel that the people who are signing off on these things on behalf of IT departments are apprehensive to do so because they don't understand the full picture or the full ramifications of what can go wrong and what can happen if you don't go down the path that the IT department is looking to push them down. And so with that in mind, all the partners that we've got out here currently on this call should be using Sophos in whatever way, shape or form they can for demos, discussions, inviting those people that sign off on those particular items that you might be looking to purchase, invite them to meetings with the IT teams and with the partners and with Sophos to help explain are the three words that I'd like to use there, and a broad understanding of why we require this. This is what we will gain from it, and this is the outcomes that we will have from it. So communication, I feel, is absolutely key for those IT managers and executives, and to be able to pass that information up the chain is paramount. And use Sophos to help you do that would be my answer to that question, Matt.
I think one of the things that the great things Sophos have done over the years is do an education piece from the beginning. That's what I've seen out there is educate the customer, really go down the path of here's security as a high level, then bring it down to the smaller intricacies of each of the components, and then just say at the end of that conversation is look at to do all this you had just happened to use Sophos. I think that that higher level picture sometimes we forget. We sometimes could be potentially could be too focused on what is a firewall, or let's sell them a firewall, when it's the bigger picture that's actually going to give them better coverage.
Absolutely agree, Matt. The communication between those groups is now of a high priority.
Yeah. So let's drill into one particular aspect of the security posture and picture. So Geoff, why are we still seeing firewalls around today? I think when I first kind of was in IT back, or started IT in 2001, we were the firewall was the biggest thing that a business had to have, and it still seems to be the the most relevant and needed thing today. Why is that?
Yeah, I think the firewall will always still be relevant to every environment, wherever that environment ends up being. If we continue down the cloud route, or I'm even seeing some people bring it back in-house out of the cloud because they feel that's a more cost-effective option for what their environment is. So they've still got a firewall there. You move into the cloud, you've still got a firewall. You've got to protect those cloud assets because your AWSs, your Azures, and your Googles aren't doing that for you. That's part of that shared responsibility model. That it's up to you. They give you the layer, and you need to then protect those layers, from starting with the internet layer, of course, with a firewall. I think even more so today, we live in this connected world. Everything we do, look around your living rooms or your offices, if you're lucky enough to be in one, and look at everything that is connected to the internet. And it's paramount to make sure that those are secure wherever they are, right? Sophos is helping with that new line of XGS as well that we've got coming in. So, we've now got dual processor architecture, meaning that every model combines a new high performance multi-core CPU. What that kind of means in real terms is, hardware acceleration. I'll talk a little bit more about hardware acceleration today as well, hopefully. Now, we've got an increased number of interfaces built in. So for those physical units, we've got a greater diversity of connectivity options, high density FlexiPort modules for the 2U models as well. But last but not least, the new platform gives us significant performance boost, right? So depending on which specific performance data you're looking at, this could be a 2x or 3x or even more increase over the XG series with V18, and even more over models running with V17. The added performance removes the need to compromise on protection, in my opinion, just to avoid the slowing of the network by providing enough performance headroom for customers to activate essential, but sometimes more resource-intensive protection. So, thinking about that IPS and TLS inspection. And I've got to throw it in there, marketing's told me to do it, and it's all made possible with the new Xstream architecture. So, having a little look and think about that Xstream architecture, it's a bit more than kind of what we've got today, right?
Absolutely. And just while we're one of the things you mentioned previously, there was this price performance kind of trade-off there, and James, do you come across that quite a bit where people have had to, or they're thinking about they've got to compromise on, the price of something just to, or security and price is probably the more one they've had to compromise themselves, their organisation, because they've gone out and had to just have source the cheapest product, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I see heaps of that when, even sizing up our firewalls, Matt, where they sit in the market, they're not the top end of town price points. Even our customers looking at our firewalls sometimes choose to go for that lesser one to try squeeze more out of that budget, right, James?
Apologies, guys, I was on mute, I'm back. Yeah, absolutely correct, Geoff. So it's important to be able to make sure you size that right, but then make sure that you're not sizing it to a point where the customer can't afford it. There needs to be a happy balance there, and I'm sure a lot of the partners on this call today work with their Sophos account manager to come up with something that not only fits the customer's requirements firewall related, but also be able to have that fit into a budget as well. So it's very important in that fact. And again, use your Sophos account manager to help you do that. It's I think an important part.
And so, we've drilled into the firewall there. If we take a step back again, what do you kind of see the Geoff, the things people are asking for these days from, what are they asking security to do? And it's quite a lot that they're asking to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you need more than just a firewall to interconnect your network and use it as a gateway. You need the remote access capability for the VPN for all of us. Not even remote workers anymore. We're all remote workers these days. Branch office VPN connectivity or SD-WAN connectivity capabilities, Wi-Fi, and kind of the list goes on, right? As like the slide that we've got up here, the Sophos XG Firewall, kind of gives you all of those options, but then starts to really build that out, right? Even looping into our managed threat response, which is our managed 24/7 365 service, threat hunting, and action neutralization against any threats in the environment, giving you cloud protection, endpoint protection, really kind of that whole stack. And I think, kind of going back to what James was talking about, we've really got to focus on what the customer's problem is in their environment, and then how can we solve it using technology or using Sophos as a vendor.
That's right. So I'll ask just a question on that. So, should I, when you're talking to a customer, should they say, hey, look, I need a firewall? Is the first thing you start talking about you quick pull out the spec brochure, see if you can size up their organization, or do you sort of take a step back and be a bit more, take a bit of a doctor's approach to it and drill into the what their organization a bit more? Probably leading you to the answer there, but it's yeah.
Mate, you can take a duck to water, right? So I definitely take a step back. I don't just rock up and do product feature demos anymore and do speeds and feeds about what Sophos can do. I would, even if a partner's bringing me to the meeting, I'm still going to sit there and try not re-qualify, but really understand the customer's pain points to then talk about the product and the features in a way that relates back to that customer's pain. So, I know general pain is, people getting breached through the network, advanced persistent threats, ransomware attacks. I could sit here and talk about that for days, right? But what is our customer that we're both trying to help concerned about? How can we jointly help them? What do we need to do? And what part of Sophos or other solutions need to come into play to fix that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. So if we're going to let's drill into the architecture of the Sophos firewall, or particularly the XGS. You're able to take us through what kind of makes Sophos a bit different, and particularly with this kind of release of the XGS.
Yeah, I think let's just kind of bring the playing field level. Let's have a look at a typical kind of firewall and an architecture. This is pretty simplified, but what you can see is there's a core firewall component that does the routing and the policy enforcement, right? This then determines what traffic is allowed to go where. And if it's allowed, what security screening is it subjected to by the deep packet inspection engine. If the traffic is encrypted, and this is one of the few firewalls that is inspecting encrypted traffic, it will be forwarded to a proxy or like a decryption engine to be decrypted before being passed through, different types of security and controls that analyzes traffic using A/B scanning, IPS, web, app control, stuff like that. The challenge here that I feel is that inspecting encrypted traffic is pretty resource intensive. It can be a major impact on the performance and create enormous bottlenecks in the system, especially for those large kind of elephant flows. Most organizations opt not to inspect encrypted traffic, creating an enormous blind spot in the customers' organizations, right? Looking at the Xstream architecture that we use now in the Sophos Firewall and our new XGS series is designed to optimize performance for those elephant flows that you're seeing. So in elephant flows, encrypted traffic and deep packet inspection is what it's really been optimized for. Every Sophos XGS series hardware appliance has our new Xstream Flow Processors that provides acceleration of trusted traffic, which dramatically improves the full performance of those applications, shuttling those packets through at wire speed essentially to reduce latency and improve the throughput. But then that also offloads those kind of elephant flows that we've spoken about from higher level CPU resources, which are used to provide deep packet inspection for traffic that actually needs it. This offers the best of both worlds. You're getting optimal performance for your VoIP, your video, collaboration apps without impacting performance for inspecting traffic that needs the deep packet inspection. So it's actually pretty cool, and what they've done and how they've built that. The architecture for what we've got now, that the firmware layer that's been around since the kind of version 18, broadly speaking, and bringing in the Xstream architecture now with the dual processor, that's where we're now seeing the real improvements of what version 18's brought to the game there. And then we even take it that one step further, and we're offloading some of our intensive threat analysis to the cloud. Suspicious files entering the network are offloaded to the Sophos Labs IntelliX cloud for machine learning analysis and sandboxing. This further optimizes our performance of the firewall while also ensuring every analyzed file gets the benefits of the latest threat intelligence as well.
So Geoff, can I jump in there and ask some questions around, I guess we're seeing malware typically, or malicious activity used to use a lot of just HTTP traffic and unencrypted traffic. What have you seen as what's the trend going to? How much are people that have got malicious intent using encrypted channels now out there? I saw there was a news article that Sophos published about a Discord chat engine out there that they're using an engine and an API to get into networks, a gaming API, and it's all encrypted. It's all encrypted file stores, and they're just planning payloads in networks. So if you can drill into that for me.
Yeah, and that's massive blind spots, right? As soon as that word encrypted pops up, you lose that visibility from your firewall if you're not doing deep packet or SSL TLS inspection. Top of my head, I'm pretty sure we've gone from 40% of network traffic using malware being encrypted to I think it's up around that 60 to 70% mark now, of traffic that we are seeing that is encrypted when using malware or malware sources coming through. And let's be honest about it. The hackers and the bad people are no longer dark corner basement with their hoodie on. They are, unfortunately, they're professionals going to a day job. A lot of them that are overseas based will go to their office and they will go to work and they will hack for a living. Against the law here in Australia, but that's what they're able to get away with. So these people are using the same methodologies like DevOps, the same mindsets, the same level of protection that we're, protecting ourselves with. They're using that to be to their advantage to make sure that they can evade as much detection as possible, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Like we're seeing it's a monetized market out there. It's with their own support channels and support teams, and you can buy the software and you can choose a 24/7 or an 8x5 support channel, and it's really it's a daunting task, I'm sure, for any IT manager out there to go into it, but knowing that a vendor is kind of at the forefront of it, and is thinking ahead, putting in the tools in place to uncover and drill into the different areas where these malicious activity might be lurking, to uncover them and make them visible.
Yep.
All right.
Great.
So I think where are we up to in our interview question here? Now, guys, by the way, this interview, the questions are prepared, but the guys are not reading. They're not scripting it. These guys, I'm making them think on their feet. Sorry about that, guys, but that's the way it is. So, all right. So, what are customers kind of telling you the common issues that they come up against with their firewalls and network security? Because really a firewall is part of a network security solution. It's sort of there's other components involved in it, but what are some of the issues that they're coming to you, Sophos, with, or just in general?
I'll take that one. Geoff, if you're happy. Look, there's some things that have popped up on the screen as well, but I would say the three top things are, what we want is good hygiene, top performance, and lower latency. That's all any IT department wants from their firewall. So I feel they are the biggest three things. That they're the words that I use non-stop when I'm talking to people. Having a brand new firewall and a brand new bit of tin with brand new software on it will give you that good hygiene, will give you that top performance, and will give you that lower latency. We've talked about it a little bit, or Geoff has brought it up a couple of times there, but being able to decrypt and unencrypt the firewall without bringing the firewall to a standstill is got to be the most important thing. And as Geoff said, a lot of people are letting it slide because of the impact it has on a firewall. He's right when he says between 40 and 80%, in my opinion. Now it's between 60 and 80% of all network traffic is encrypted, and that's a big thing. Depending on the vertical, of course, as you head into government and so forth, it becomes a little bit more, a little bit less in the smaller private sector. But those type of things are super important. And the other conversation that I have a lot is around SD-WAN capabilities, and whether or not the firewall can work with those capabilities in that SD-WAN environment. And that's where Sophos and this new particular firewall is doing some amazing things. And so that SD-WAN question is now sort of being answered. The encryption or de-encryption answer is being answered. But back to those top three, if you're looking to talk about a new Sophos firewall, good hygiene, top performance, lower latency. They were the three things that I would bring up, as well as what we're looking at here in this slide.
Definitely, thanks for that, James. So really, that the lower latency, that can that comes back to what the question I asked before about the security or performance and price and that sort of thing. And people previously been making that compromise and putting in security and turning off. Have people been turning off features you see out there? They've bought the firewall, they thought it was the right size, and they've just they've turned off the IPS engine, they've turned off the HTTPS, and they've actually just ended up with a router with a blue light on the front. Is that something you guys see?
A little bit, and it's something that we want to avoid. And again, everybody on this call has a Sophos account manager or a customer manager. Use that person as like a sword. You kick in the door and then use that Sophos account manager or that channel account person to help you decipher those type of conversations with a customer. There's no point in having a Sophos firewall out there with nothing on it than a blue light, because when something goes wrong, Sophos or the partner will get that blame. So even though it was the customer that turned everything off, So being able to articulate that, being able to size it correctly, but then price it correctly. And again, we go back to that pricing versus size of the unit is so important. But again, your Sophos rep can help. We've also got a heap of promos. I think our distribution manager is on here at the moment as well. And there's a heap of promos around that to make it even easier to sell. So use your account manager, your channel account manager as an extension of your team.
And I think just to throw in there as well, don't be afraid to use our professional services. Don't be afraid to use them as kind of your wingmen, your wing ladies to help you out implement these solutions. They might seem simple on the front, but to make sure everything's up and running and best practices, don't be afraid to include professional services in your quotes to get the work done, to get it implemented properly for the customer. James said about speaking, getting that new tin with new code and everything all done correctly the first time. Let's give the customers the best foot forward. Start fresh. Don't migrate. What they've got today. And in terms of, I'm talking, don't migrate firewall rules and firewall policies, because I see time and time again customers have environments that have been set up 5 years ago, and all of those servers that they've got exceptions for aren't even there, but those firewall rules are still there for that customer. So yeah.
Good hygiene is and good policy and procedure in in an organization is you can have the best tools out there, but if you just don't have the right policies around how those should be used, how they should be reviewed, when they should be reviewed, you're just gonna be left with holes in your firewall is probably a good analogy to have on this little call. So
That's
Geoff,
right. We're working, sorry, just to cut you off there, Matt, but yeah, peace of mind is so important, and being able to, articulate that to customers and have them sleep better at night is our job. And so making sure we get it right from the beginning is so important. Sorry to cut you off.
No, not at all. Always good words from James. Always good knowledge.
Maybe not always.
Okay.
So Geoff, I think what are some of the key differences that we're seeing, just like if we're comparing one competitor to another in the in the Sophos firewall world, what's making the firewalls unmatched? Kind of, do you have some numbers around that sort of thing? Oh, look, there we. And on these sort of numbers here is, should we be giving this kind of info to the customers, or is it we should be digesting it and explaining them in a different way?
Yeah, I definitely think this is for partners and partner use only is what I would say here. Sometimes the customers don't need to know the speeds and feeds. They're not interested in that information. What they are interested in, what the real impact to them is, let's take, I don't know, competitor F versus the XGS 2300 line there, right? The firewall only, competitor F can do 18 gigabits per second. We're able to do 39.5. Now, I came from an MSP before joining Sophos. If I walked out to one of my customers and said, hey, this new firewall from Sophos can do 39.5 gigabits, which is a 23% increase on what they used to be able to do, they'd probably ask me to leave straight away. So we need to understand about what the impact is to the customer. What does this actually mean? So, at a high level, this means now that maybe you don't need the XGS 2300 bundle for your customer. Maybe you're able to now drop down a firewall size because we're able now to do 39.5 gigabits per second, whereas with the XG230 we used to be able to do 32, right? So it's a big increase there. And then looking down as we've enabling that TLS inspection, that's clearly not a problem anymore. Having the dual processor, right? You're able to do 1.2 gigabits per second versus we were able to do 280 before. Looking at our competitors there, competitor M and competitor F, we're able to pretty much blow them out of the water. I'm not going to disclose who those competitors are. It's not kind of fair for me to do that in this forum. But the important things are that we are blowing them out of the water in terms of threat protection, TLS inspection, and also the capability of what we're doing there with the firewall. Personally and confidently speaking, I think now the XGS, with looking at these stats alone, is a real game changer for Sophos. This allows us to move further up that customer seat size stack and knock out some of those competitors that have typically won those deals, you know, potentially just due to throughput alone.
No, definitely, it's great to see Sophos, you know, improving on the hardware side, improving on the software side, and always thinking about that, you know, what's keeping the product relevant, and always, you know, that security performance playoff is always, you know, keeping that front of mind.
Yeah,
I've got a sorry, go Geoff.
Just one more thing on competitor M. Like looking at their price, right? Their price performance ratio is not even in the same ballpark as us. They've got less performance for essentially double the price, right? You know, and that's stuff to take into consideration is, you know, what is the price performance ratio of what either you've been selling previously or the customer has today, versus what we could offer here using Sophos, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's something that you know, we've seen over the you know, probably over the last 5 or 6 years is the internet speeds are creeping up. You can get you're a small organization, you can get a gigabit, you can get 10 gigabit internet now, but if you've got you've only got 10, 20, 30 users, to get that benefit while having security, you've had to buy a really expensive firewall, and now, you know, with the XGS range, you can buy something that's you know, that's going to do what you need to do, that's in your budget, and not compromise on things. So.
Yep.
So James, putting your sales hat on here, and you know, thinking about how to position a firewall to a customer, you know, where do you start that you know, that conversation? What does it look like? What some of the things the questions you'd ask them, or yeah, what's some of your tips that you know, that you use?
Thank you, Matt, for putting me on the spot. If I had to go out and pick up the phone and sell a firewall right now, I think the goal of any salesperson is to get the customer to be doing a lot of the talking. And from that, you can pick up a fair bit of background information that may or may not be sort of bubbling to the top with his first opening or their first opening lines. It might come up later down in the conversation, but there are a number of things that I would use to kick it off. One is a hardware upgrade. These aren't uncommon, and as Geoff said, there's no point in having firewalls that are 5 years old. Having the latest hardware increases performance, increases speed, and drops that latency again. So that's an easy one. With Sophos in particular being, we have a lot of customers out there. There are a lot of XGs out there already. To have a conversation around synchronized security would be, you know, more than a good way to go about it. Hey, Mr. Customer, you already have the Sophos endpoints on this many of your endpoints. What are you doing around a firewall? And they may have something already well and truly installed, which is great. And we don't want to be trying to get a customer to displace something that they're happy with. But you can also use an XG or an XGS in tap mode as well. So if you've already got an MPLS or an SD-WAN provider, you can use a Sophos firewall in tap mode to add an additional layer of security. But my favorite topic right now to be talking to customers about is being compliant in the new security frameworks that are out there. So the Essential 8, the MITRE ATT&CK framework. What are customers doing to ensure that they are ticking boxes against both of those frameworks? They are super important. There's a heap of information out there regarding both of them. Sophos, I believe, do some training around those areas as well. But asking customers what they're doing about the MITRE ATT&CK framework and how they're complying with it, or how they're complying with the Essential 8 framework, they're the type of questions that open up conversations like you wouldn't believe. I ring and I talk to people every day about these type of things, and once you mention MITRE ATT&CK or you mention the Essential 8, often you do very little talking from then on in, because the customer is doing that talking for you. They're explaining what they're currently doing, and they're looking to you as their trusted advisor to help them to say, oh, yeah, that's right, that's exactly what you should be doing. And so they're the type of things that I would use. So hardware upgrades, you can use it in tap mode, synchronized security, but most importantly, the MITRE ATT&CK framework and the essential 8 questions are the big ones that are getting some traction for me at the moment.
No, definitely. Thanks for the tips there, James. Got another question for you, and it's sort of related to the a channel ecosystem that Sophos has. What are some of the examples out there that you've where a partnership where Sophos and a partner have worked together in a way to kind of get an outcome on a deal potentially that that was expected, but even beyond that was expected. How can kind of vendors, partners, distributors really help customers kind of with security these days?
Thank you, Matt. Another good one. Sophos, as we all know, is 100% channel first. We never go anywhere else. We're only ever going through the people on this call. So that is the first one that I would like to mention. And possibly I mentioned some of this in the beginning, but we are all a team and we are all in this together, the vendor, the partner, and the distributor, and we all have skills that we bring to the table. So utilizing those individual skills from each of the different groups, I feel is super important. We don't want to be treading on people's toes. If you don't want us chatting to your customers, that's okay, but we want you up to speed with what we're doing. And we have a huge number of resources. In fact, being a vendor, being a vendor that's built for the channel, we have dedicated huge amounts of money to resources for partners and demos and training and not for resale equipment, and all of those type of things are things that we want to do. So lean on the vendor in that respect. And again, I think I used the analogy earlier, if we were an orchestra, the partner is the conductor of this group. No one understands better the customer's requirements than the person who is spending all day with them. It might be security, it could be a whole range of other products that we're looking at besides security. But we want to be available, we want to be on side with the partner to make sure that they have the best possible opportunity to present Sophos in the best possible light. So again, I mentioned those things regarding demos. Use our PS guys like Geoff Morrison here. Use our professional services guys for the setting up and so forth. Use our demos. Use us as a weapon to remove the noise when you're chatting to customers. So bring us in whenever you feel the need. The training programs, the free trials that we can give customers, those type of things we want to do. And use your account managers and your channel account managers in that way. If you're not getting what you want from them, ring me or ring Sonia or ring Natasha, and we will make sure that it happens, because that's the key for us. Everybody has a skill. Everybody needs to bring that skill to the table. We have a saying here at Sophos that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I think that's the most important part for me. I couldn't do my job without a partner, without a distributor, without a sales engineer. And bringing those people together and having us all working towards the same goal is the goal for me. And it makes it easy, particularly when you're communicating and you're keeping lines open and you're taking calls and you're working together towards the best possible scenario for that customer. So that's an example that we use all the time. And please, again, if you don't feel like you're getting that from Sophos, come at us and let us know, and we will fix it. Because being 100% channel first, we want to make sure that we give 100% of our time to the channel to make sure that they can get to their end users with the best possible scenarios.
Thanks for that, James. Yeah, it's something that the working together and that trust is something that of course, in any situation has to be earned. But from my experience dealing with you guys, it's yeah, initially someone might not want to disclose who their customer is. They might give a name, then they might give a contact, and they might, then they might progress to, obviously as the relationship evolves, more and more deeper information. But the ones that are, that are open, that ask lots of questions early on, are the partners that are, really getting getting more out of the partnership and the relationship than the others that are, just there. There's heaps of resources that are out there that are available, online, but also, people to people, face to face as well.
Absolutely agree, Matt. Not everybody wants to disclose who their customers are, and that's fine, but use us to empower you to be able to take that information and get into those customers. So use us in whatever way, shape or form you need to, either directly to the customer or through yourself, whatever it takes, we're here to help.
Absolutely. All right, where are we sitting, guys? I think we've got that one. That's that one. I think we're up to Geoff now. I think it's your turn. Let's this one. No, it's not that tough. From an overall perspective, we spoke at the start. Overall security landscape. We delved into firewall, coming back out again. What's Sophos' sort of overall strategy towards security, and where does the firewall sort of sit in that security landscape?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And I think, if you've attended our, partner conferences and recent events, you would have heard a little bit of talk around what we're calling the adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem, or for short, I'm going to refer to it as ACE for the rest of the presentation. It's really an evolution of synchronized security, and we're finding it's a new way to address the new reality of the interconnected business systems and attacks shifting to, essentially an automation plus a hands-on keyboard, right? This is a system that leverages the automation and analysts in a cycle that constantly learns and improves. The automation via, things like advanced AI-based prevention, cross-product detection and response to find suspicious signals and amongst the noise. And best of all, you can really start small, so you can leverage, things like the Sophos endpoint or firewall, and build it off from that with your customers and your environment. Leverage that to start to build and grow your foundation. The open ecosystem is constantly improving and evolving as well, from a collective input of Sophos products and services, as well as what we're hearing from our partners and customers and our developers who have built tools and solutions that interact with the system, right? It's the constant feedback loop of threat and security intelligence that enables the system and its components to get better over time. It really supports the shift as well towards SecOps and automation, including the operators. So, a security operations approach where we leverage the power of automation and the analysts. The automation can analyze and react faster to known patterns of behaviors and events, while human analysts are better at correlating multiple suspicious signals into a new indicator. And the realities of the past year have turned many security operations centers into virtual SOCs that can be managed by security experts from anywhere, giving you the ability to find the best global talent. Depending on your approach and resources, the system can be managed by your security experts or can be managed as a service by ours as well. The ACE system, the adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem, was built to protect the interconnected world of our businesses and our online world. With the security operations approach, it's the system that protects systems and data wherever they exist, constantly learns and improves to protect future shifts in technologies as well. You can see on the left there, we've got our open APIs. I think the current stat is we are seeing 5 million API calls daily in and out of Central. So that's huge. That's showing a massive shift in the way people are using the APIs to drive their business, drive the MSP world, or as a security operator as well. We've got some pretty cool hardware. We've got the XGS platform now. Later in the year, we're going to release our Sophos switches as well, which is on there on the screen. We've got our services arms, so our managed threat response, our rapid response service. So for anyone that doesn't know, there is a dedicated number, an Australian number, that you can call to get direct access to our rapid response team in the event of an active threat attack in your customers or your own environment. You can call them 24/7, 365. They will jump on, assess the situation, and then provide you a 45-day upfront quote to be an MTR Advanced customer, as well with rapid response and rapid containment of the current threat. So I think that's definitely something to, as an MSP, keep in your back pocket for customers or prospects that potentially run into problems down the track.
Yeah, sorry to jump in. Is now, I mean, again, I might get in trouble for this, but is now a good opportunity to spend 2 minutes just talking about a couple of Sophos's recent purchases of companies that we've taken on board that will help grow this particular ACE landscape?
I think it is yeah, why not? But before you jump into that, I wanted to ask it, and it's related exactly to what you say there. How big a part does the like the AI and automation play into you know, Sophos, the Sophos, you know, ACE system, and even in just your, you know, your day-to-day kind of you know, sales calls and, you know, calls with customers and stuff, you know, how does AI and the automation help you guys, you know, win against you know, competitors in the, you know, the firewall space, but all in the endpoint space as well? That's for you, James. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. AI is super important now. Sophos, we're never going to be a born in the cloud company. We were born in 1985 in a little part of Oxford in the UK. As we have grown over the years, we have taken on telemetry across all those years, across all of our endpoints. So our AI models are very, very strong. In fact, I would say some of the strongest on the planet. When you have 35 years of experience being tipped into these engines, it helps that it helps narrow the gap, as we call it. If I'm going to use my hands here, we've got known good and known bad, and AI is looking after the middle. A lot of companies are quite wide out because they're new, or they're purchasing that telemetry from SE Labs or whoever it might be. But a Sophos gap is much thinner because of the amount of telemetry we have taken over those years. It is forced us, it's helped us to narrow that gap. And so our model, or our engine then that sits in the middle there, almost has less to do because we have such depth on either side of the yes or no space. Once we have something, of course, that doesn't fit either the yes or no, or the good or bad, it's then pushed into a series of checks and steps to ensure that it's going to be the right thing, that we can let it roll, and we can then wind back. We can do a whole heap of things but around that an SE could explain to you a lot better than I could. But our engine is nice and robust and sits in the smallest gap, or the smallest area, because Sophos has such a huge background over so many years of reinventing itself. The telemetry has closed that gap for us. Hopefully that answers the question in some way.
That does, yeah. And then I guess, you know, how does that sort of help the, you know, if you're an IT security professional working in there, does that obviously make your job a lot easier if you're looking, you don't have to look at it so much, look at so much out there, I should say.
Yeah, and there's a couple of options in that. I mean, again, we're all sort of fairly IT savvy in here, so you want to do it yourself with Sophos, that's fine. You use an Intercept X or an XDR, which is now what the EDR product was recently called. So we got Intercept X, XDR, but if you felt like that was too much or you didn't have the resource, of course, you can use Sophos MTR, which is our Managed Threat Response product. The industry refer to it as MDR, Managed Detection and Response, and our brand name is MTR. But you're right, so having a smaller gap there helps the end user if they want to do it themselves, but it also helps us if we were doing it for them. And it grows every day, and that's why that engine is so important.
Absolutely. Look, it definitely answers the question there, and that one, sorry to spring that one on you, but
No,
tell us about it, some of the acquisitions, I think, yeah, that's just happened.
Go on, James. You're on a roll, mate.
Geoff, I was going to leave those ones to you, mate, but Capsulate and Brain Trust, please. A 1 minute overview on both of them would be fantastic. Thank you.
So Capsulate, I think, is really going to bolster our Linux protection, including Linux being on-prem and in the cloud. There's a lot of enterprise customers that I'm speaking to lately, and they're, oh, we don't have much Linux. I'm like, okay, but what are you doing in your cloud? Are you protecting your cloud? No, we don't. No, that's not Linux. Well, the underpinning technology of what's mostly running these clouds is Linux. You're throwing your environment onto Linux environments without realizing. And very soon, and you can look up Capsulate to see how they do their technology and how they protect. I think it's pretty cool in terms of what they're doing there. So big Linux bolster to the Sophos protection with that. And Brain Trust, that is essentially our network detection response arm. So today to get telemetry from the network, we're needing to put in like an XG firewall in tap mode or in line mode or something like that to get the telemetry from the network. Brain Trust is going to be able to give us that information. So east-west information as well as north-south to be able to figure out everything that's happening in your environment on the network side. And today, I believe, looking at their website, from what I've read, they also, they're doing that through a small virtual machine to be able to pick up all that information. One of the questions, if you have read about Brain Trust, and I don't have the answer, so please don't ask, is they are telling the world that they can do man-in-the-middle inspection without certificate, encryption, decryption. As soon as I find out the answers to that question myself, I'll be sure to tell everyone before I'm asked, because I think that is pretty awesome if they're able to do that.
Yeah, that's right. They're two exciting purchases, which again, I think shows that Sophos isn't afraid to reinvent itself constantly as we have done over the last 35 years. It's another string to our bow that we have brought in to make us more competitive in those spaces.
Definitely, I think Sophos is always good at putting the carrot out there, what's coming next, and keeping people engaged and being on top of the security landscape and the adapting as you need to. You have to adapt these days. Well, guys, do you want to just do a quick little recap of what we've chatted about, and then we've got a few questions that have popped through that we'll leave a bit of time for them to be answered.
So I'll go first on that if I can, just to say thank you all so much for the opportunity to present to you today. As I've said constantly here, use us as a resource. We are here for you. So come at us, get the information that you require, and then move that into your customer, or even better yet, have us come and deliver on your behalf to the customers. Use your vendor as that sword, or as whatever you want to talk, however you want to describe it. But we are here for you, and we want to help you sell more. So whether it be the new XGS, MTR, or any of the other little boxes we can see here, endpoints, mobile servers, email encryption, Wi-Fi, cloud, new switches coming, the REDs, the APs, use us because we can help you articulate it better to the customer. And for questions, I know we've got a lot of information, we'll do some questions next, but come at us anytime, day or night, for questions. Use your account manager, use your CAM or your channel account manager, and make sure you're getting what you want from us. And if you're not, let us know and we'll fix it.
Thanks, James.
My summary is going to be more around, thinking about the firewall conversation for your customer. Let's not go in there and do speeds and feeds with our customers, right? Let's really deeply understand the need. What can we address? Utilizing the XGS hardware and the architecture behind that. How can we better protect our customers? Let's think about, a uniform approach to inspecting all that encrypted traffic that we're not able to see and creating a huge blind spot in all of our environments. Set up new policies and ways that we work moving forward to make sure that we're decrypting that traffic and giving our customers the best protection and essentially their best foot forward.
No, definitely. Thanks for that. Thanks, Geoff. So what we've got some what I do is go ahead and do the poll. Actually, no, we'll do the questions first, and then we'll come to the poll where we will choose some prizes. So got a question here just around some sizing. I think Geoff would be the most appropriate for that one. You know, if the throughput figure on an XGS is showing sort of 1.2 gigabits per second for TLS, you know, and a customer has a gigabit link, is the do I need to go to a bigger model to kind of get the full benefit out of this, you know, that sort of sizing?
I think I'm happy to take this one offline, you know, to think about, you know, the TLS encryption, decryption conversation as well. But we need to, I don't think we need to marry up the throughput internet WAN gateway to the TLS inspection throughput. We should be looking at, you know, how much traffic are we actually generating internally to the external link, and then kind of look at it from there. I think if you do try to do, you know, marry it up kind of one-to-one, I think you'll probably price yourself out of the game pretty quickly, because you'll end up with a bigger model than you would need. So look at what is, you know, internet flow traffic today, and then figure out from there, rather than kind of marrying up to links.
No, definitely. It's probably, you know, whenever someone's asked me to, you know, compare model to model or size something, there's a lot more information apart from, you know, the internet link speed. It's what features do you want to turn on, how many users. So there's
and what type of users as well is really important.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a customer and they're all developers on Linux and they're all heavily using the internet, well, they're the kind of power users. So, you know, don't kind of do them as a one user, do them as a little bit more than just your standard user. Think of them kind of like a 1.5 or maybe even a 2x on the user count there. I'm sure we're going to get more questions on sizing, so I'm just going to nip it in the butt here. There is detailed sizing information coming out very soon. The sizing calculator on the partner portal is about to be updated. We're just waiting for that to go live as well. So essentially waiting for all of our benchmarking to be completed so that we can work out the sizing and the positioning for our customers for that. So stay tuned to the partner portal.
No, thanks for that. Got a question just here about the just the, I guess, the XG end of life date, and then the SG, you know, when is it, you know, is there an SG end of life date that's, you know, do we know when that's going to happen? Or I guess we can read between the lines that it may happen sometime, but
yeah, you know, personal thoughts are it's inevitable, it's got to happen at some point, but there is no end date at this point for the SG platform, is there, James? There is a end date for the XG, the current XG version. There is an end date for that, and that is mostly around the revision and the firmware that you're running on those boxes. So we can send that out to you. I'll send it out to the gentleman that asked the question.
No, thanks for that. I think there's been sorry, James.
No, just being mindful of time, I would go straight to you. If you've got a question around that, go straight to your Sophos AM, who can brief you on all the dates that are coming up.
That's it. Yeah, I think there's definitely an end of the date mentioned for the XG. So yeah, we'll can find that online or through the account manager. Just regarding the TLS inspection, is there apart from what you mentioned with the brain trust guys, you still need to install a certificate on the PCs, and what's the best way to how do you automate that, or what tool do you use?
Yeah, so I've seen customers, so number one, yes, we still need the certificates installed to create that trusted flow of traffic. Otherwise, we're going to start to get certificate errors and things popping up being like, hey, what are you trying to do? Someone's interjecting what we're trying to do here between yourself and the website, right? So we need to make sure that that's trusted. I've seen a multiple load of, you know, different deployment tools, bigger customers using things like SCCM. You know, we had some luck when I was in the partner world using our RMM to push out the certificates to the particular clients as part of their firewall deployment as well. So that's something good to keep in mind if you are running an RMM. Otherwise, I think if you're not running an RMM, you're probably running Intune for your customer base using the Windows, you know, modern workplace. So you're able to push it out using that as well, I believe. Definitely, but worst case, you can send it to the people in an email and get them to install it themselves with some instructions.
Yeah,
it's kind of loads of options.
Lots of tools out there to help with it, and group policy, the most basic one, and then all the other automation tools out there that are available.
Absolutely.
Just on another tech question there, do I need to do anything special to upgrade, version 17 Sophos Firewall to version 18, or to put the, is the configuration migratable from XG to XGS?
Yep, so the config can be migrated. So either from a 17 firmware to an 18. You do need to be on a particular version of the 17 firmware. So I think it is the latest revision you need to be on to be able to jump up to the latest revision of the 18. And you can also do that. So we would need to, just reading that question. Yeah, so we'll need to upgrade that. So you'll need to upgrade the 17 config to 18 to then be able to move it to kind of 18.5 or 18 MR5 where we are today, I believe.
Yeah, I guess we'll dig up some specific info and send that across to where they can find that. But yeah, minimum, I guess a minimum sort of version you've got to get up to then do the leap. But you don't have to do a full reconfig like Cyber and people kind of had to do, or SG. It's migrates across. The XGS isn't that different to the XG in that sense. It's a evolution of under the hood, I should say.
Yes.
And one of the last questions there, just again on sizing, with in one of the slides there you had the TLS inspection, and then there was the threat protection performance. If you had both of those kind of turned, the AV turned on with the TLS and the threat protection turned on there, what sort of speeds would you get from that?
I think, yeah, that's a tricky one. It really depends on, internet speed, what firewall you're looking at, the customer environment. Again, back to that kind of sizing. So we'd probably have to take that one offline to figure out what you would really need to get out of it. And like I mentioned, we're getting those data sheets all ready to send out in terms of kind of throughput across the fleet. So that will help as well.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thanks for that, Geoff. Just looking at all the questions there, they're probably all the ones we have time for.
Make sure we get back to those other questions.
We'll get back to some of the other guys directly, just related to those questions there. So let's jump into a poll, and sorry, we're just running a bit over time, but let's jump into the poll and get that started. So we've got some vouchers to win if you guys want to jump in. So the first question is, a customer calls you and says, I think I need a firewall. Do you immediately tell them the megabits and gigabit specs of all firewall models, ask them a question, talk them about an overall security solution, or panic and Google what is a firewall and why is it needed? We'll give people a few more seconds. All right, thanks everyone. The answer there was B, ask questions, talk about an overall security solution. All right, next question. What makes the XGS firewall different from its competitors? Is it low latency, TLS speeds, price performance ratio, best protection performance, and blue LEDs? There is an S in the name. All right, we'll give people a few more seconds. All right, so the answer there was the low latency, TLS speeds, best price and performance. The S could stand for Sophos, so that could have been a trick question there, that one. All right, last question. What are important firewall features for customers? Reporting, visibility, management, security, a cardboard box can be recycled, the number of SFP ports on the appliance. A few more seconds. All right, thanks for everyone voting there. So obviously the question there is the reporting, option A. So that sorry for guys for running over time there. I think we managed to get a lot out of these two boys from Sophos. Yeah, I'd like to thank them for both making the time and sitting with us, and for all of you guys as well for sitting, listening in, and listening to us instead of COVID information that's out there. Hopefully this has been a break, a bit of something different to listen to while we're there's other things going on in the world. James, thanks for coming on. Geoff, thanks for coming. Anything else extra we need to add, guys?
No, thank you so much again. Call us if you've got questions, guys. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Stay safe, stay protected, guys. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.
Yes.
Thank you.